Gearheads know that some projects need so many parts, it feels like you need a whole storage unit just to store them. That's what eBay Motors' 122 million parts are for. Think of it as your virtual parts garage. They've always got the right fitment at the right prices. Use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
La 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 la, la 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 la, Elmo's World.
Welcome to the Elmo's World podcast. 3. Okay, welcome to Elmo's World podcast. We have John Conway and Brandon Gruber. And I think that they have a lot to talk about when it comes to U.S. politics. And I hope you listeners here from my country, the Philippines, would learn something from them. Okay, so they will touch the topics of Trump or Biden, and then taxation, and whether America should focus on herself first or be more diplomatic. Okay, so
just give me a minute. Okay. There we are. Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Well, now was a question. I'm sorry. Trump, Biden. Oh, Jesus Christ. Neither. Trump's a blowhard, and although he speaks a lot to us, and I can say that very lightly, the only thing I don't like about Biden, there's two things I don't like about Biden. One is the fact that, and nothing to do with being Democratic, is the fact that he was caught on video talking to a blue collar worker as if he's trash. Now, I know a lot of that conversation was out of context, but if you look at the whole conversation, he was kind of off the handle. Now, in saying the same aspect, Trump did the same thing. He's been known to look down on people who don't carry the same clout as he does. And so, though the one that did speak for me is Trump did actually come down to talk to his boys in Midland and kind of make peace with the oil field workers because we're all struggling. But I don't trust the idiot. I don't trust either one of them. Now, if it came down to a choice, I really don't know. And I think that both of them have their own aspects, but it's not the good part about them that bothers me. It's the bad one. So that's a hard question. That's about the gun. That's a big one. And it's hard for me to really say, Brock, what do you got? I know you got something. I can see it. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I do. Yeah, so they're both bad for sure. I think that we can both, we probably all three of us can agree that there's probably far better. I think probably a cartoon character or a child or a statue would do a better to the country. But
Yeah.
But then the calculus becomes so if since American electoral politics is such, it's the way that it is, right, where you get to choose between A and B. And nobody really likes either A or B, then it becomes about this is kind of a lessers of two evil argument, but it's about mitigating harm. Who's going to do less harm? And I have some opinions that about Joe Biden and about Trump, but I think that when push comes to shove, that Joe Biden would do a little bit less harm. And I think that harm reduction, that's where I'm coming from. That's where my mind goes. So
keeping normality in the world is my point.
Sorry?
Whoever can keep things the way they are. We can never have a perfect euphoria.
Well, the way that things are not good, though.
No. I'm saying, let me put that the right way. Before Trump, where it wasn't nearly as racist as it is now, and how horrible it is now, and that we have actual Mexicans in cages right now. That's what I'm thinking. Is that on the balance of Biden, I can actually see him rolling back half that crap and making that go away.
Right.
Trump, although some aspects I see that he's done bad, but it's just too much. He's a gamble and a big one. So is Biden, but I don't know.
Who's that? Trump or Biden?
I think Trump's bigger gamble than Biden
Well,
is.
so I mean, make a call, man. I mean, which is it? Because to me, if you ask me personally, I live in New York. So New York has voted Democrat since something like 83, something like that.
Yeah.
So, my vote doesn't really count. And
And right
I
now,
understand you live in Texas. That's gone
and
Republican a
Texas
long
is
time,
about
although
about
it
a
might be
70-30.
shifting.
Yeah, I think if I
What's
can
up?
remember correctly, last when Trump and Hillary got, I think we're 60-40 or 55-45. It was right down the middle in some aspects. But now they're saying that there's a
Mhm.
good chance they might actually go Democratic, which
Yeah.
at this point, if it came down to it, on just based on who could do the most damage, and that's the only thing I'm basing it on, I'd have to go for Biden. Just
So who's going to
because
do? You think Biden would do more damage than Trump?
no, less damage. I'm sorry. I
Oh,
think he
so
would
then
bring back normality, but
we agree
not. But
completely
there
on
again,
that then.
the thing about it is though, I'm not thinking about me. I'm 40 years old. I'm thinking about my children are 15 and 18.
Yes.
Those are the ones
I
I'm
have a
worried
daughter
about.
myself. Yeah.
So this isn't my world anymore. It's theirs. And I don't know. I don't like the fact that he got rid of the EPA, or at least trying to dissolve it. I don't like the fact that he got out of the what is the
Is this Trump or Biden now you're talking
this
about?
is Trump
Okay.
current staff.
Understood. Got you.
I think that he got out of that climate change. I can't remember the name of that thing
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
Yeah, you're not a
And
climate denialist.
no,
You come off as way too intelligent
no,
for that.
it's like believing Earth's flat. This is not gonna. You're not gonna get that out of me. So I think that, and it's not so much that he pulled out of it. It's the fact that it's what he said. It's how he came across like an ignorant redneck talking about why he got out of it. And if you presented me an actual like the money's going nowhere, nothing's happening, blah blah blah, I get that. But that's not what he said. And I'm not going to quote him because I really can't remember, because I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I can't stand listening to that man talk. It drives me nuts. I think that somebody in office needs to be standing strong. That's one thing I like about Obama. When you listen to Obama talk, that man, he could talk. And you came out saying, damn.
Things that makes him dangerous.
Yeah, he came across as highly intelligent. He was very well spoken. And it's just, I could listen to him talk all day. But Trump, 5 minutes into it, I'm ready. I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. I don't care anymore. It's like listening to my redneck granddad talk. It's no.
Yeah.
But then again, he's the highest of the high. In the United States, he's the highest person available. And I really think
He's the most powerful person on the planet.
exactly. And he needs to be a statement. Like he stands for America. And that one thing right there drives me absolutely insane. Because when Obama came in, he spoke good. He was well spoken. He was well dressed, very clean. You knew where he stood at. But Trump, it's man. And the Twitter, for God's sakes, man, shut the hell up.
Yeah, he's a crybaby. He pretends to be strong, man. He loves all the dictators, but he's going to cry about Rosie O'Donnell and whoever TikTok recently. I mean, come on,
In the beginning, I listened to a radio, and because I listen to a lot more radio than I do TV for various reasons, because I cannot stand media. It's mainly because of how they portray people is why I can't stand media. But I listened to the news when he first got in the office, and his reasoning behind Twitter was because he wanted to speak to the people on their platform. I was like, oh, I get that. I understand. That makes sense. It's a new world. Everyone talks on Twitter. Some of the shit he pumped out of his mouth, it's just like, dude, you okay, there's some stuff that I won't say. And I'll say almost anything. I have no fear. And he'll say some stuff like, oh, I wouldn't say that, especially being in office. No. But that's how he stands. And when he stands in front of everybody else, because it's the first time I've ever seen a president being a laughing stock of the entire world. And that
man. So let me ask you this, because I mean, that's what I think too, and that's what a lot of people think, is that this guy, I mean, how to lose friends and alienate people, right? I mean, all of our allies, he's going to talk all sorts of garbage about people that we have to maintain relationships with, and then try to get cozy with others that we also have to maintain relationships with, but but you also have to kind of, as if you're president of the United States, in my opinion, you gotta be, if you want to be a strong man, right? And not kowtow. So,
but Obama never made empty threats. That's one of the things. And the other thing behind it is that not like how he threatens people. being part of the world society, as you say, the world group, you have to play the game. You have to be nice to everybody. It's like being a neighbor in a
Diplomacy.
neighborhood. You have to be nice. You have to be kind. You must actually sit there and find a method to make things work. And him just saying, "No, I'm done with you," that's not cool. And that's my
Yeah.
biggest problem there.
Yeah, I think so too. So okay, so you seem to agree that Trump is maybe worse. But do you want to talk more about the details? But like, do you want to talk more about Biden, or do you want to shift gears and talk
Well,
about something else
Biden.
since we agree?
I don't know a lot about Biden. I really don't. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know a lot of what makes him tick. I'm more curious about what now. That's why I'm kind of waiting for the debates, because I want to see what he bring to the table. I don't expect him to solve the world's problems. I didn't expect Obama to solve the world's problems. I certainly didn't expect Bush to do either one of them. But I do want him to make what? Yeah, that's fine. What's up? I got my kids here, so I don't expect Biden to come in. It's like I felt bad for Obama. He was the first black president, and there was every black man from here to New York thought, "Oh crap, we made it. We finally have someone in office." And he was held to such a high standard that I don't think he could fill it. That's why he looks so old now. I think that just aged living daylights out of him.
Well, that's what being a president does. All of them go away.
And
yeah,
well,
but I hear
Biden,
what you're saying. There's constructive criticisms to levy against Obama.
There's some things I don't agree with Biden, but there's a lot more things I don't agree with Trump. And one of the things I don't agree with is how he handles schools. And my kids go to public schools. We're not rich, so we don't go to private schools. And my wife's a teacher.
Like the charter schools.
I'm not mad about them. I just don't have that option where I'm at.
Right.
So it depends. I mean, I went to school with private, charter, and public schools. I moved around a lot, so I know the value of all of them. But I don't like the fact that Trump really hasn't put a lot of effort into refining the teaching, refining the money given to the teachers, refining the money given to the schools, and giving children better options. He's more worried about that goddamn wall. And I don't care.
Wall, by the way, man. There's the hurricane that happened recently, knocked it over. There was 35-mile-a-degree wind, knocked a section of it over. People have used to climb over it. People have cut it with a couple of, it's been defeated in so many ways. It was supposed to be impenetrable. I remember him saying that.
Oh, please. He was, if you do the research, you find out the majority of illegals are actually here because they did come over here legally, but they never got renewed their visas. And a lot of them,
last I checked, yeah.
I
said that's 40% last I checked.
Which is a big number. And down here in Texas, we talk a lot about, drug dealing, this, that, and the other. And my philosophy of that is like, well, if you don't want to have drug dealers come over here, stop buying the goddamn drugs. But that's just me.
A big, but that's there. If supply and demand doesn't work without a demand.
No, but that's one of the, but Biden hasn't really, not that I've seen, really touched that subject, which I don't think he should anyway. I think he should stay a hell away from it for right now. But most of what he's been saying that the guerrilla, granted, I don't know a lot. I'll admit that. But from what I hear, it's not any more worse than Obama did. So, but then again.
You mean Biden or Trump?
Biden. Biden is no more worse than Obama.
Biden is a reiteration of Trump. Trump's immigration policy is absolutely worse.
It's insane.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So, but Biden just, I think that, he hasn't really talked about immigration too much. I think his plan is kind of the same as Obama. But also, here's a stat you might find interesting. Obama deported more people than the last, several of them. So when he's lauded as this guy who's a super lefty, going to help the immigrants, or Biden will do that, is the number two to Obama. I question because the data.
I mean, it's just like down here in Texas is weird. All right, I'm not going to lie to you. I've lived in Arizona, Tennessee, Illinois. I've been all across the United States. But Texas is the strangest state I've been in because we value gun laws when we do a lot of things.
I bet.
It's quite amazing to me. No, I don't care. I don't. It doesn't bother me. I don't have a problem with guns. I don't have an issue with people own guns. I don't care. I have a firm belief that if you're sitting in your backyard firing a gun, knock yourself out as long as you don't fuck with me. You live your life, I live mine. We're happy go lucky, as long as you don't hurt anybody.
I tend to agree with that point at least, yes.
But there's a lot more problematic things involved with that no one wants to touch about because the NRA is so powerful, and that bothers me. I think that regulation.
I interrupt you there just to rest on the NRA. I keep hitting my. Hold on a sec, because I would ask your opinion because here's the problem I have with the NRA. The NRA will. This is what I don't want to touch. If we don't want to get too bogged down with the idea of racism or whatever, but this is necessary because the NRA will support a lot of different types of groups if they're white. Now, there's a black group who is formed and organized called the Around Coalition, which is made up of black men and women, and they've bought their firearms legally. They have open carry permits. They're walking down the street, exercising their Second Amendment right just the same, and the NRA doesn't go out there and support them. Now, I think that makes them hypocritical.
Well, and if you don't know that racism exists in higher politics, then you're an idiot.
Well,
so I think sexism doesn't exist. I mean, and racism alone is a massively complicated problem, even in the politics, because in minor politics, like say in a city, it's different. It's not nearly as bad. But when it comes up from the top, it can get pretty foul. And it can get, I have a buddy of mine that calls it dark racism, basically saying that it doesn't really look like racism, but it is.
That's the most dangerous kind.
Exactly. And that's one of the major problems. But we are still, like I was telling Elmo, is that racism is still a major problem in 2020. I've been in this for 40 years, and we're still arguing about kind of the matter is that Trump doesn't really say anything about it. It bothers me.
Well, that guy doesn't have any idea, as far as I can tell. I think that he'll go left or right if it suits him. If he cares about power, what he cares about is people liking. So he's not going to say anything. He's not going to go on the soapbox and have an impassioned speech because he doesn't have any spine or any emotion.
But there again,
are worth it,
Obama did.
Well,
Obama made a lot of things about that.
But he also didn't do nearly enough,
No.
And I don't know, how much, but yeah, words, pretty little words are not.
No.
I think that's pretty self-evident.
But even now, it seems to be, in my concept, one of the bigger problems, especially what I said in the last podcast he had, was that we don't work together.
Yeah.
We are still
united. We stand divided. We fall.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that nobody seems to really come up with a concept with it. And so, in my experience, especially like in the military, whenever something doesn't happen
You're a military
correctly,
man?
No, sir, I'm not. I wish I was. My father was. My grandfather was. My father did not want to bury his child, so he told me I couldn't go. Are you?
Gotcha. No, sir, I'm not. My grandfather was stationed. He after we dropped the nukes on Japan, he went over there and held it down. But if if we would have committed the 120,000 troops, he would have been one of those that had to go. You know what I mean? He would have gone to Normandy or Omaha if he had to. But
exactly.
Yeah, my father-in-law also Vietnam.
What I'm trying to say,
love for the military.
Oh yeah, so do I. I mean, I have high respects. And what I was trying to say is, in the military, when something doesn't work among the ranks, the lower ranks, they always go to the higher rank to figure the problem out. You go, hey, we got this issue. What do you think? And then the higher ranks take care of it. Well, in this particular government, you really can't do that. It seems to me that whenever it hits Trump's desk, it doesn't really go anywhere. He just kind of brushes it off like no big deal.
Well, he doesn't give a shit. And he's an incompetent moron.
And that's not what this country needs. And the worst part, and like I said, the worst part about it is the fact that he considers it to be, what's that word here? Unless it makes him something. It's like he's almost a businessman.
Yeah.
If you don't make anything, he doesn't care about it. Like the whole
opportunist
movement. It's not making him a point. The only time I heard him talk about it was when they were defacing the federal property in Portland. Yeah, that's right, Portland. And so he sent the federal border guards down there to take care of it. which is a kind of a sneaky thing in my point of view, because he put the border guards down there because that's the only thing he can send down there that doesn't require any national action, because they can travel all across the United States and never so much say anything. So he did that, and this is my opinion. He did that because he knew he would have to follow some sort of weird ass martial law or something that's really horrendous that he knew damn well going to get passed. So he did the one thing he knew he could do without making problems: send the border guard. They're allowed to travel all the way around the United States and never cause a problem.
Yeah, and I think that's all. Like I say, I don't think that Trump really has any ideology. I think that he kind of shifts with the wind wherever it blows, wherever he's like tests the wind, you know. So yeah. And then this is about him trying. He doesn't care about solving the problems. I don't think. I think that the whole you gotta dominate them. You know, this whole thing where he's trying to like keep control, as it were. I think that's not because he wants to actually like do any good for the country. I think that he's trying to like gain favor of his base.
I think he actually liked
in their
this.
favor.
I think at times when I hear him talk, it's almost like he's attempting or keeping discord within the races. He actually, sometimes, and it's not every so often, but every once in a while I hear him talk, I'm like, man, it almost sounds like he's like the initiator, the one that wants to cause problems because he likes discourse. I don't understand why he would even want one to begin with. I figured he'd want, joining the group. But what he says and what he does is completely freaking different. And that's what bothers me. He never seems to stick with what would be the right way to do things. Kind of like this whole virus concept. It seems like he didn't really, when someone says something that is highly regarded, and I'm going to probably say his name wrong, but Fauci, the scientist that he had. Fauci, there we go. I can never, my wife has to tell me that name every time. I can never say it right.
Hey,
but
I'm from New York, man, so no problem. If there's a Texan name that comes up and I need your help, I trust you'll help me.
There it is. But he's been under 5 presidents so far? If I'm not mistaken, 5 presidents, and he's well regarded as being a high-end social scientist and also a herpetologist, the study of contagious diseases. Yeah. But what really bothered me lately is he pulled did you hear that he pulled the information from CDC that they had, that the CDC has to report to him directly? Did you hear about that?
No. I don't know nothing about that.
Apparently here lately.
Tell me about it, yeah.
So all these states have to report. Like if you go to a doctor right now and you have a contagious disease, whether it be typhoid or tuberculosis, it must go to CDC. Well, this specific virus goes directly to CDC. So whenever you have a report, it's usually, here lately it's been, I think, a monthly report, but I think they've gotten up to about a weekly report of how many people have actually come positive on COVID-19. Well, Trump went on the radio and said, guess what? I'm tired of dealing with the CDC, so all the information goes to him and his staff. That's a little bit weird to me. And the reason why I think it's a little weird is because when a manager hires a sub-manager, like a assistant or a supervisor, you must depend on that supervisor to be smart enough to take care of the problems. It's not the manager's deal.
Yeah, shit rolls downhill, but it's also up to the manager.
But a good manager, being in this case Trump, should hire staff that is smart enough to handle the mundane problems that he doesn't want to deal with.
Now, do you think that Fauci isn't handling this well, or do you think that he is?
Some of the things that I've seen and some of the things that I've heard says that he actually is, but he's being backlogged by Trump and his staff.
Right.
I know there's two sides to that.
Trump wants the guy to make him look good.
Exactly.
There's only so much shit you can pile on a man's shoulders to,
On the same side of it, I think, in respects to Trump, I will give him this. It is a nightmare to make a choice of what he had to do with economics and shutting down America.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but I really don't know, in my point of view, exactly how he came across of what he decided to do and why he waited so long. And Fauci says otherwise. Fauci says he's been talking to him for a long time. And that makes me wonder if Trump actually denied that or said no big deal to it. That's what makes me wonder. Now, we lost.
I tend to believe Fauci or pretty much anybody over Trump, because Trump is a notorious liar and he's so sensitive that he just wants to try to look good. But no, only because particularly intelligent either,
He comes off as the most arrogant little shit on Twitter, and I read his stuff and I'm like, good Lord, man. And if you judge him just based on that, you think he's some sort of redneck idiot. And
Yeah, I'll
I'm
tell you, man.
but
I can't bother with his Twitter account. That
I did for a while and I deleted it. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't handle it.
yeah, yeah. I'll same boat, man.
But did you see that I was listening to radio one time and Trump had a video on his Twitter. Was it Twitter? It's one of those, I think it was Twitter. And the the people in there were claiming white power. Did you see that?
What were they
Something
claiming?
something like they were saying white power. Did you see about that?
They were
2 a.m.
saying
in the
white
morning.
power.
Yep. 2 a.m. in the morning, he
Right.
posted this video, and these guys are wandering around. It's just a standard protest video, and you have these two or three white people are screaming white power, and
Mhm.
he posted
That's his
it. And
base,
that's the
though,
fun,
man.
but that's the
He's gonna
funniest thing
pander.
about it. He can do anything he wants, and the whole entire like Texas, for example, says, "Oh well, he had a bad night." No, 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 no. So if I
He's a
post
stupid fool.
yeah, if I post a swastika right now, 3/4 of this freaking world will just pretty much just say, "I'm done with you." I mean,
Well,
I'm
they
not that
probably
way, but
should.
exactly.
My
If you
opinion
are,
with
I mean,
just to, I don't advocate for any sort of violence, but World War II, this country used to take pride in killing Nazis, and now Nazis are a special interest. I feel like
especially if you remember the beginning part of his presidency, he was okay with the Nazi movement,
yep.
and
David
I was
Duke,
like,
you remember you might remember he refused to renounce David Duke, and I know he's not a Nazi, he's a KKK guy, but
yeah, it's about
same
damn
shit,
same
different
thing.
smell, yeah.
hmm Well, and he said that shit, and I was like, dude, I mean, I mean, if anything defines hatred, is the
Mhm.
Klan and the Nazis. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah,
more, in my point of view, that
mortal
defines
enemies.
hate. And he said that shit, and he didn't. It wasn't so much what he said, what he didn't say. He didn't say anything against it. And I'm sitting there going, dude, you need to kind of renounce the hate. I mean, you need to say something that is, okay, we're cool with you
Yeah,
being the way you are, but you're not welcome here in the United States. Something like that.
right.
Something that just, and I had to deal with these idiots face to face a lot of times in my life. And they are a breed of human that should not exist. And
Strong
I
statement, man,
I have
but
no
I
love.
agree with you.
You can be whatever you want in this country, but you can't be that. If you hate somebody for being what they are, then you're an idiot.
Yeah, the Nazis
Uh,
and the devout racists, the ethno nationalists, they're not welcome.
but now on that,
They don't abide by this country. What it's supposed to be, in my mind, is freedom and equality for all. If you're
mhm,
not down with that, if you want to oppress people, you're not on the team, basically.
no, and that's where I strongly disagree with Trump, and I go towards Biden because of the fact that I know what Trump stands for, and I know what he's okay with, and that bothers me because in my world, if you're okay with something or you're not against it, then you're for it. And in
Yeah, I think
racism,
that silence is if you stand tall and stand
I mean, me and you,
against things that you have a problem with, or silence is complicity. I think is that
me,
kind of what you're saying?
me and you are pretty much just people. We're civilians.
Mhm.
We work. We provide for family. We take care of blah blah blah. But if you all of a sudden decide to run for office, you need to clean up your mouth and clean up your ability to do things, and you need to stand exactly where you need to be. Not saying you have a bad mouth or anything. I'm saying I do the same thing. If I ran for office, you'd never hear a cuss word come from my mouth. I would be clean
Right.
cut. I would shave. I would change the way I am, because if you're a father, and I know you are, they look up to you. And children look up to the president because when you're a kid, like, oh yeah, I want to be president when I grow up. I want to be this. I want to be that. Those are
Yeah.
standpoints that you work off of. And in my point of view, just saying that, I'm gonna have to go with Biden just because of that point, because it bothers me that he won't take a statement on that and he won't stand strong on it. And he won't. I understand it's America, you're supposed to be whatever you want to be, but there are some things you cannot be. And that is in the South, the Klan is still strong. It's still there and it's still strong. And anybody who's otherwise is an idiot. And although the BLM movement, I
We
don't
can
go
talk
behind.
about that. What do you think about the BLM move?
I think the politics behind it is shit. And I mean,
Well,
what I
do you
mean
mean
by
the
that is
politics behind the decentralized organization of it, or the way that they operate, or do you mean like how like the Democrats sort of pander and pretend that they're part of it, that they're helpers?
I think that the people behind it, the actual moneymakers behind the BLM movement, are a little bit screwed off. But I think the
Well, which
people
money
actually on the
makers would
street
those
different.
be? who's fun. So this may be an area where we actually disagree.
Okay,
Which
well, in
is
that case, let me hear your opinion first. I
okay,
want to.
sure.
I
Because
don't talk to you about a
but
lot of people that have BLM.
I'm gonna remember. You made a claim, so I'm gonna remember.
Yeah, no. Feel free. You have to. All right,
Okay.
before you talk, let me say this much. I'm in
Of
Texas.
course. Yeah.
So
So
BLM
my
movement
opinion is.
is
Go
not a
ahead.
thing. So I just want you to know. I want to hear your opinion on this. So go ahead.
Yeah, so my opinion is that it's well that it's necessary and that these movements kind of when I talked to Elmo before, that these movements kind of happen organically. But I don't think that there doesn't seem to be very much central organization. Is there money going into it, funding it? Yeah, but is that really driving it? That's where I would ask for some sources there maybe,
I
but my
honestly do
opinion is
not
that
have one, and I'll admit to that.
that's fine. But my opinion is that would you deny that black people are oppressed in this country to this day?
Well, yes, I do. Okay.
You would deny that. Okay, so then
No, no, no,
we
no, no,
found
no,
a
no, no.
good
I'm sorry. I'm
solid
sorry. I'm
ground.
sorry. No, no, no. I don't deny that. I misheard that. I apologize. That's not what I meant.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
Yeah,
I
so
believe
then
I believe there's two things in this country that can be oppressed more than anything else: is females and blacks. Females still get paid less than men do. I worked with a welder
I'd add
to
the
get
gays and
weld
the trans
anybody.
people and the Muslims in there too, but
Yeah, well,
definitely
yeah.
women
Muslims.
and blacks
I
for
hate to say it,
sure, for sure.
Muslims, man, they are. It's not a good life being a Muslim. Not in this state. Not in this state. Not in this country. But in my opinion, I hired a black guy. All right, let me tell you this story. I hired a black guy.
Okay.
And I hired him because he worked lawn care for 6 years. Okay, you think about that. 6 freaking years that boy was outside cleaning ground. So I was like, this man's dedicated. 6 solid years, and he proved it. So I was like, all right, I'll give him a chance. My boss did not want to hire him. Why do you think that might be?
What'd you say?
Why do you think he didn't want to hire him?
Why do I think that you didn't want to hire
No,
him?
my boss didn't want to hire him.
Why do I think your boss didn't want to hire him? I don't know your boss from a hole in the ground, but
He's
you live
black.
in Texas.
He's the
You're
only
not
black
in
guy
a
I got.
shortage of races, so maybe that.
No. We have the biggest collection of races I've ever seen in a long time. But
Well, I'm saying you don't have a shortage.
so I hired him because my boss said he wouldn't do it. I signed off on it. He turned out to be one of the best employees I ever had in my life. He was dedicated. He come in every day. Never had an issue once. I hired 2 of them.
Right.
And I hired a second one. The second one, and like I said, I'm a firm believer that idiots come in every color. And I don't care. I've hired white, black, Chinese, American, doesn't make a difference to me. But an idiot comes in every color. The problem is that
every group has their idiots in sure.
in this country, blacks tend to have a harder life than whites do. And I'll admit that because I've been dealing with it all my life.
So so that's an anecdotal thing that makes sense to me. So let me offer my opinion about why I think the Black Lives Matter movement is necessary and why I think that it's important. To get to a little bit more broad with is that because racism exists, it has existed in this country for a very long time. It's probably never going to be over.
No.
So black people have been oppressed in this country. And then we've got the police brutality thing. George Floyd kicked his ugly death kind of jarred people and
it didn't jar. It caused a lot of issues.
Yeah, man. I watched it a couple of times, but I don't.
It didn't cause a lot of
tough video, man.
It didn't cause a lot of issues. It brought to light a lot of issues. Let's put that.
Yes, yeah. It lit fire in people's hearts. So then you and I agree on that. Then the next phase of that, in my opinion, is that so because of, it's not just because of George Floyd. It's just he happened to be the catalyst, in my opinion, because black people have been being killed forever. So I think that it's necessary because you have all of the different identity politics, all this stuff. You have all of the identities kind of coming together here and saying enough is enough. We're tired of watching these videos where people, innocent American, free, supposedly American, are being gunned down by a maniac police force that's off the leash. And you have, with this national and worldwide movement, we have an opportunity to, like you say, we're never going to get rid of racism, but we have this opportunity here with this movement, to force the politician, to bend to our will and to actually do something about it. And tied to that is the economics, and then underlying that is the corruption, which we have to,
So,
I'm laid a lot on you, so go ahead
well,
and speak.
here in Texas, we have what's called the Patriots, and I don't know if you had those in New York, but they're a bunch of gun-toting people. And we have a statue in Weatherford, and I didn't know what the hell it was. Yeah, I hate going next to the square because it's a circle. It's a pain in the ass to drive around. But anyways, this statue is a Confederate soldier, and it's been getting a lot of grief lately. It's actually owned by a company or a group of people called the Daughters of the Confederates. They've been around since the beginning of time. These are old people. They had to find out actually who owned it. So they had a big thing.
Is it on public property or private property?
Well, that was a debate. They found out that the actual statue is physically owned by the Daughters of Confederates. That's who owns it. So therefore, it is private property, but on a public thing.
Okay.
Now,
okay.
what makes this situation worse is that the statue is a Confederate soldier, but he's also one of the main founding fathers of the city of Weatherford. And I've told him about a statue thousands of times, never put two and two together. Don't give a damn about it. The BLM movement came in, and so did Antifa. And they're saying that they want to get rid of the statue because it bleeds hate. I'm not necessarily arguing that point. What I am saying is that no one can agree to it. So the council came in, the city council came in, and unanimously agreed that they will not move it. The Daughters Confederate, which are technically broke, they're not a association. They're just people that get together. They're not really a group that have money. And so the city of Weatherford said, I ain't moving it. So that caused a big riot. The thing I have here is that, technically speaking, if you do more research than what they teach in school, there was a lot of really bad issues the South agreed on. And if it makes people happy, let it go. But the thing about it is that
are you saying that if the statues existing on public property makes people happy, that other people ought to let that go?
We can agree that the Southern Confederacy bled slavery, right? I mean, it was pretty much one of the biggest
traitors to America.
Say again.
And they were traitors to America.
Exactly.
In no other country, revolution. Why should we have any statues of failure enemies of ours? Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think there is one existing statue of a Nazi soldier in Germany. I think. What? Of what? The chairs don't come out, dude. Yeah, they do. Out of what? They don't come out. Do not take those things out. Those are a pain in the tail to put back in. No, I'm not taking those chairs out. They don't come out, not easily. Anyways, sorry, my stomach.
If Germany tore all the statues of Hitler down.
Yeah, I'm just off the top of my head. I think there's one left. I think I could be wrong on that, but nevertheless, my point I'm trying to get to is that the Southern coalition is pretty much dead, and there's a traitor against the country. So take the damn thing down. But they want to fight over it, which is and my argument to this is I got an argument with a very good friend of mine, and I said, well, let's put it this way. You know what baby killers are? And he says, well, yeah, what's it called? The Vietnam people, baby killers. There's an actual flag for that. And if I hung that flag in front of my yard talking about the baby killers of Vietnam, what would you think? And he said, why? I'd hellfire over it. So why is that?
It's clear. I think you know me well enough through this conversation what I would think about that.
Exactly. So,
like anybody sporting a Nazi flag or a Confederate flag, I'll tell you, there's a thing I say. A Confederate flag has two purposes: as kindling and as tissue paper.
Exactly, because in no other country in the world do you ever fly two flags. Not that I know about. I could be wrong on that. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty much guaranteed of all developed countries you have one flag.
And I mean, you don't sport the flag of an enemy that you defeated.
No.
Of an evil. There's like a Nazi flag I'll accept the Confederate flag before I accept the Nazi flag, but also the Confederate flag kind of deserves the boot too. But
even
yeah,
that,
I mean, what
it stands on the same point. I have German in my blood. I'm half German.
Oh, me too.
My family goes
Me too,
half.
man. Interesting.
And I have cousins that believed are the second cousins that fought for both the Allied side and the Nazi side.
Oh, interesting.
Now, I respect both sides. And I say the reason why I respect both sides because the soldiers on the floor for the Nazis didn't know shit. They were fighting for their children and their family, just like we were. And I will give them that only credit right there. And that came from my grandfather. I know. Well, my
I don't
grandfather.
know that I agree with that, but that's okay.
Well, I asked him when he came back from World War II. I was probably about, 10. I asked him, so what was like killing Nazi as they fought like dogs because they were fighting for their country? He said, what did that mean? Oh, no, I killed them. Every one of them. Everyone I saw, didn't matter. Young, old, doesn't matter.
War's war.
The soldier, you have respect for your enemy, but not enough to not kill them. Now, even though I have Nazi in my blood, I will never
You have German in your blood. You don't have Nazi
Well, I have one cousin that was, so I got to give him some
in the blood.
aspect
Because
of credit.
Nazi is an ideology. German's it. And
I know. Work with me here.
Sure.
But the reason why I'm saying
I'm
that
trying,
is
brother.
because I know I would never fly the flag. You will never see me have a Nazi symbol. You will never see me support their ideology. You will never see me say, "Oh, well, the Jews." No, you will never hear me say that because at the end of the day, they did things that are still defined as being some of the most horrific things in the entire world. And
yeah, the
I was
Holocaust
asked
is the
that
most
question
horrific
because
evil project that's ever existed in humankind. So,
it is, and he's done.
Nazi Germany is definitely responsible.
Exactly. And now the
let me
reason why
ask you
it
this,
came up was because.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, the reason why it came up was because of the
okay.
fact that I don't support that, and I never will, and therefore I won't support the South
Right.
either. And that's why, if you want to put a person up there that helped, there's a couple of them in Fort Worth. That there's a man. It was I can never remember his name off the top of my head. He was a white man, but he made a lot of money, and he put all his money into helping out Black poor children. And he lived under about somewhere around $30,000-$40,000 a year, but he made somewhere around $200,000 a year. And he gave all his extra money to helping out impoverished children, not necessarily Black, but at the time of segregation and separate cities and separate towns and separate schools, the poor were predominantly Black. And so he gave all his money to that. That I support. Racism, I do not.
Yes, it is. Yes,
And
it is. But the reason that there are so many poor minorities in this country is it coming back to that systemic racism thing. That's if you oppress people, if your goal is to keep a certain group of people oppressed, it makes it harder for them to gain wealth, and that kind of is it's so obvious that it almost doesn't bear saying, but it does because it has to be said.
I talked to Grover about it. Now, Grover's one of my few heavily educated Black friends that I actually have is heavily educated. And he was like, I don't think racism is as bad as you think it is. And I said, really? All right. What do I want you to do? You like Starbucks? He said, oh, yeah, I love Starbucks. I said, I want you to walk in there, inside, fully dressed, pimped out, everything, in nice clothes. The only time you ever see this man dressed badly is when he's at work. Outside of work, he's wearing top-of-the-line clothes. That's his thing. I'm not arguing with him. I said, I want you to walk into Starbucks, haphazardly doing your thing, and see how many heads turn to look at you.
Well, what did he say?
He says, he called me on a Saturday, and he says, Conway, he says, you weren't bullshitting. I said, I told you. And it says, when a white person, I'm not saying everybody, when a white person sees a Black guy walk in there, they get the eyeball. And I said, that is racism at its core, because you don't look at, I look at people all the time, like, what the hell are you doing? Well, you dressed that, this, that, and the other. But watch how they watch you. And he said, that's what we people see. That's what we see, the white people that aren't racist. We're like, dude, you're staring a mad dog in them old, what's that, this side on the other. And I told him, I said, that's still alive. So until that's gone, racism is still strong. It's just quiet. And he says, well, I never really thought about that way. I said, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Now, he's a strong Black. He's the one that told me this. I'm a strong Black man. I take care of my children. I take care of my wife. He's one of the guys I hired. He's a wonderful guy. But he never saw it that way because he never saw to look at it. But now that he does, he looks at it differently and he goes, I never really thought. And I said, that's the point I'm trying to get at. And so when you see something like that, you see it worse in the South. When you see something like that, it's a big deal. So he asked me the same question. He says, do you believe in BLM? And I said, some parts of it I don't. But at the end of the day, as you said, it's a movement that has to happen. And nothing I can say can get rid of it. Because voices, and down here in Texas, it's like we don't need it. We don't need a riot or a, what do you call it?
Well, BLM isn't about rioting.
No,
It's
that's
about a peace movement.
That's what I'm looking for.
Elevate the floor up so
wrong
that everybody can,
Mhm.
potentially we can change the laws to rein the police
Well-
in, economically raise everybody up so
Exactly.
that everybody's got a quality of opportunity, and that black
Well,
people
down
have
here in
the same
Texas,
opportunities as you and me.
Down here in Texas, they talk about, we don't need protests and such and everything. And I looked at one guy, I said, you understand this entire country was raised on protest,
Do they
right?
believe in freedom or not? Because
That
look,
doesn't
man,
matter.
this is what I'll tell you, it pisses me off about people who
I'll never
say,
take-
oh, we don't need Colin Kaepernick and everything. Do we have the right to protest or not? Or do you value the First Amendment or don't you? It's not,
Exactly.
yeah, sometimes we do when we feel like it. It's like, it's an all or nothing thing.
Mm-hmm. But that's the point, and I made a comment to him. I said,
That's
you do understand that the
In my
entire
opinion,
United States
it's
is
an
built
all.
on.
It's not even a little bit about, except for maybe yelling fire in a movie theater, doing
No.
people harm. People's words,
But
their expression of freedom is sacred.
in
to
the
me.
beginning of the States, we were built on protest. We protest, we fought, we stood up against the Europeans, and
Right.
we did things that would be deemed as a protest. And now it's not okay. That's not how it works, buddy. I mean, and
Well,
I have a-
and it's okay sometimes today, because when the MAGA guys go out there and they want to defend a statue,
well, that's completely okay.
there's no problem there. But then when Black Lives Matter goes out, well, now we have a problem. When Colin Kaepernick took a knee, everybody had a hissy fit. Not everybody. A lot of people had a hissy fit, Well,
it's-
yeah,
I'll
okay.
give you
So
an
you don't
example.
like entertainers, athletes saying things. Their right to speak is also sacred, and shut the F up, basically. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or or speak, complain, but like you're wrong,
Yeah, I'll give you an example. We had
not you specifically.
No. I know. We had a peaceful protest about that statue, and we had somewhere around, I want to say about 50 to 60 BLM supporters. And I use that word loosely because you had about 20 of them that truly BLM, and the other 40 were pretty much just helpers of this. They still brought the same concepts, but not necessarily officiated with BLM. And then we had the Patriots on the other side. All right, and they're predominantly white. There's a few of them.
I'm going to interrupt you and push back just for a second,
Okay, go ahead.
because the BLM people, the protesters, whether they're supporters or not, I would also consider most of them, if not all of them, to be patriots as well.
I agree. But these
Okay.
people actually call
So
themselves.
let's be careful with our language. Then, right?
I know. It's not my word. It's not mine. It's just what they call them down in
okay.
Texas. No, these are not. No, I didn't know. If I'm going to cross that way, that's not what I mean. That's actually what they're called, the Patriots.
They're called.
We
the
had
Patriot, right?
yes.
Gotta
That's
have a brand.
it's a whole. This is Texas, buddy. We're a different planet, so it's retarded.
Everything's bigger.
Not necessarily better either, just different. And
Right, yeah.
so we had about 200 to 150 Patriots, and they range from all ages and all races. And then we had the BLM. BLM was completely peaceful, all right? And this went on for about an hour and a half, and I was literally waiting for something bad to happen because I had about 200 Patriots fully armed to the teeth. AR-15s, shotguns, 12 gauges, anything you have, they had. And nothing worse than a pissed off white guy with a goddamn gun. But anyways, so in the end of it, the police were around it. I say that with most love, but it's down here. It's like I said, it's a whole different planet. But
Crybaby.
in the whole end of it, the police were involved. They knew about it. It's an actual real life protest. It was fully legal, and the police were doing a little peaceful organization around it, keeping the peace. They weren't part of it. They're just walking around making sure no one did anything stupid. Everything was peaceful. Well, they were yelling at each other, but nothing really racial slurs or anything like that. They were just yelling their cause. And a white guy that was a patriot went out and hit a black guy that was a BLM movement and pushed him down. Didn't cause any damage to him, but it was a statement he made when he did that. Because although you may disagree with the BLM, you may say, well, that's not what I follow. That's fine. You can do that. You can, in this country, you can say that I don't support this, I don't support that, but that is no reason to promote violence towards another person just because you don't believe in it. And that one statement, the police came, all
I
right,
tend to
we're
agree
done.
with that.
The SWAT team came in, no one got hurt, but they shut it down.
But
Said, "Everyone go home."
that right there. Can we just rest on that for just a
Go ahead.
second? Because with violence, you say that if we shouldn't engage in violence. I think that's like kind of what the necessity of Black Lives Matter is, because the police have been so violent to Black people, to Hispanic people, to Muslims, to poor white people, and and so they want to start a fight and keep a fight sustained, but they don't want to, they're upset now. They cry when people call them out. Well, if you're a cop and your job is to protect and serve, I'm sorry, but if words hurt your feelings so bad, I don't trust you to protect and serve nothing, not even yourself, let alone the community. And so if we ask as a people, right, as American citizens who were tired of watching, predominantly Black men, but all kinds of them, brutalized, killed, and then we kind of demand in this free country that we have, to rein the politicians in so that they rein in police, and the police want to whine about it and make a hissy fit. I think you don't have any business. If that's your opinion and you're a cop, I don't think that you have the stuff that's because being a cop is a tough job, and you have to be a strong person. And if you're going to cry over feelings,
when it comes to that, my second oldest wants to be a cop, and he wants to go to the military first and then become a cop. And he asked me, "What do you think?" And I said, "Look at what they did, not the color." He says,
I didn't hear you.
I said, "Look at what he does, not the color." I said, the minute you start looking at somebody because he's Black or he comes from a impoverished neighborhood. But the other thing you have to understand, and I told William, my second oldest, I told him, I said, you got to understand one thing, and you got to understand this very, very well. The Black community has been oppressed for a long time. So when that oppression happens, the fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers bring this idea that you will be oppressed down the line. So when you deal with, oh dear God, all right, when you bring in, it's not necessarily racism as protection for your own, because they know in their past they've been oppressed by the police and by the government, and they teach their children, look, I'm not saying to be a dick to the cops, I'm just saying watch your ass. And so when you pull over a Black person,
what you have to do. I'll tell you, man. I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I call it a character flaw. But if I was Black, first of all, my temperament, I might be dead right now because I'm not dealing. I hate it anyway, and I'm white. But I feel like I don't want to say fortunate, but like I don't have to talk to my 6-year-old daughter and tell her like if the police that the police are going to be your enemies, perhaps that you're going to have to watch your back. And Black parents have to do that, man. And I can't imagine what that conversation, how you emotionally as a parent have to navigate that.
My Grover has a 9-year-old son, and I asked him if he taught this, and he says, "Well, okay, I do and I don't. I don't want him to hate the cops. I don't want him to treat him differently. He does no worse than racism." But he has to watch his ass being a cop, being a Black guy. And
definitely,
it's hard not to teach that. But see, Grover's kind of a unique human being because he's not only Black, but his brother is a Black cop.
Is this the same man you were talking about? Okay.
Yep. So Grover, his brother that lives with him, is a Black police officer. So it's one of those, he's got a whole, I told him, I said, man, you got a weird mix. Oh yeah, it's weird. So he doesn't necessarily hate the police, but he knows that a large majority of them are really screwed in the head. And you have to witness it.
Yeah.
You have to be there. Like when I got pulled over one time and I was riding around with Tristan. I was probably about 17, give or take. And he was Black. They put him in handcuffs and not me. And I asked the cops, hey, I got the one with the knives. I mean, I carried pocket knives since I was 4. And he says, he got on him. Why are you putting him in handcuffs and I'm the driver? How does that make sense to you? You need to sit down. I said, that I told Grover that was my first real vision of what it really was like to be black.
Well, and you're
you
talking
have
about
to-
it now, and that must have changed you like permanently. That
It did.
experience.
That's the bad thing about it. And the sad part about it is that was a white cop. Now I say that because that's how bad it really is. That's the backbone behind all this bullshit racism that's going on right now. That it's so visible that it's impossible not to see. And those who don't see it
Yeah,
are either too
they're not
high
looking.
too trained to care, or
Yeah.
they're ignorant. Is the best way I could say it.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
not.
yeah, 100%. I agree with that. They're either, have a vested interest in the power dynamics, or else they don't know what's going on and they haven't looked. That
Hold on,
means.
buddy. Just don't start that car. You understand? I mean it. I hear that engine turn on. I'm gonna find
I
it.
won't start that car, man. Don't worry.
But the sad part about it is, and that's going back to Trump and Biden. I don't think Trump is really taking this to a serious level, and I don't think
No.
he's
No way.
making like
I don't
I think
think
he's
he has
made
the
one
capacity
point.
to. Even if he wanted to,
I
I
don't-
don't think he possesses the capacity.
No, I think he does. I don't think he cares.
He doesn't
I just don't
care,
think he
and
is.
he's not smart enough. That's it.
And the reality of it is, it's like the way he talks about it is almost like he just brushed the subject and that's it. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. You have to say something strong, because the whole world looks upon you and go, okay, what has he got? If we knew he's thinking an appointment about this, we look at him and go, okay, you're my leader. What do we do? How do we fix this? And
Right.
how he says it, he just brushed the subject, and it's like you sit there and you go, okay, well, and if I want more, I want you to tell me what we should do. And I know I don't need him to lead me. I just want him to stand and go, okay, this is wrong. And
Right.
he
If
really
you
hasn't
choose
done that.
that you want to be a leader and you become a leader, be a leader or don't.
Exactly. And it's like when I hire people, I hired not because I wanted to, but it just people who applied were white, and I go over and I had
You hire white people? I'm
I'm
making a
terrible.
joke.
But I tell everyone when I hire them, there's 3 things that will get you instantaneously fired, whether you like it or not, and I'll do the paperwork myself.
Right.
One of them is sexism. If you talk bad to my secretary, I'll fire you immediately
Good.
without question. Second thing is racism. If you say anything racist of any way, shape, or form to make anybody feel, I don't give a damn if they say the word. If you say it, I'm getting your ass. The third one is making anybody feel different. Like I work in a steel shop, so we rag on each other every 5 minutes. We talk
Yeah,
shit.
sure.
We bullshit. This, that, and the other.
Got to
But
pass
the
the day
limit-
somehow.
Yeah, there's limits. We don't talk about those kids. We don't talk about those wives, and just normal stuff that your mother should have taught you when you were younger not to talk smack about.
Mhm.
And I've had to fire one of them for that. And Grover came
For
up to
what?
me and said,
For which was it that you
Racism.
had to fire?
I had to fire-
Okay.
I
Yeah.
had to fire
So
black guy.
good on you as an employer or as a manager, whatever you are. Good on you for having strict standards that you maintain.
It's but
one
the
thing to
thing is-
say I'm going to fire somebody. It's another thing to hold
no,
to that standard
and I missed
and
him
to-
too.
he
was a great welder.
to follow through.
God, I missed him. I told him, I says, I don't miss you that much. Have a good day. And
Yeah. There's other people that you can hire that aren't going to be, because
Exactly.
you also it's not it's part of it. I'm not a manager or an employer, but I imagine part of it is about your personal beliefs about equality and freedom and things. But there's also another element about like if all you care about is money, don't you want your workers to like be efficient, right? And that's that makes a difference too. You can't have
But
united we stand, divided we fall. If you have 3 people where like if Elmo, you and I can't get along and we're divided constantly, then it's going to be hard to get along.
Well,
You
and
scale
that's
that up to a
exactly-
business or to a country or to the planet.
And the one thing that I get pissed off about Trump is that
That to make huge
you
difference,
have to actually, as a leader or a mentor or a boss or supervisor, lead, whatever, you have to really consider the fact that your people are human and they have their own lives outside of work. They're not working because they
And
love it. They're working
dignity.
because they pay the bills.
Yeah.
And if they have to come to work and feel like they're being thought of differently, and it could be just a way, and it's racism is a tricky thing because of the fact that if you're considered differently, or they don't talk to you the same way, or
You can
you
feel
know,
it.
it's kind of like calling your secretary honey or dear. It's
Right.
yeah, it's not right. And
Condescension.
no matter how you cut it.
Yes.
And with this country, sometimes I don't believe Trump gives a damn about that. And to me, that is a
He
big.
definitely doesn't, man.
That's where I call the
I'll
quit.
say it with 100% confidence. He doesn't give a damn.
So, in actually your
Yeah.
first question, what would it be, Trump or Biden?
Well, we already
slow-
discussed that, man. I mean, we seem
I
to
know.
be on the
I'm
same
just
page with Biden. I don't think that he would do as good at, I was a Bernie guy, so I don't think that Biden would have done as good a job as Bernie.
I really,
Um,
really wish that Bernie stayed in. I really do.
yeah, I think he made a
what he came
mistake
up with.
pulling out so early.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to see because some of his ideas are a little off the ball, and of course they were
Like
radical.
which ones? Let's find something to disagree with, man,
All
because
right,
we're
free school,
honeypotting it here.
free school. How
Which
about
one?
that? Free school.
Free school.
So
Well,
yeah,
we already have free
talking
school.
about
So
having free
you mean
college.
free college? Are
Mhm.
you for or against?
I'm completely for it,
Well, I'm
and I'll
for
say
it
the
too.
reason why. I'll say the reason why because I have kids, and I'm willing, and I know you have kids. Now I am one of those people that I will pay $3 more on a dollar I make to make sure your daughter goes to school, and you'll
I'll
pay
do the
$1
same
more.
for you, brother.
And exactly, but that's what is wrong with America because in Texas we are individualists. That's what they call us, individualists. They shot down
So let me. Okay, go ahead.
we have Weatherford School. It's a goddamn communist thing. But anyways, they had this thing where they wanted a bond, and the bond was to pay for lunches and help out with because apparently food is expensive as shit, and pay for people that did not have the ability to buy books, computers, and so it basically is a poor man's loan for the most part. And it would go across the board and help everyone from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade to assist people who do not have the financial means to be able to buy books or computers or stuff like that. They shot it down at a 250 to 3. It's not even halfway. 250 to 3. That means only 3 people in that group said yes. That is disgusting. And you're looking at, here's the funny part behind this is that the bond would only $10 paycheck you make. Did you get that? $10. That's all, and it's all Weatherford, $10.
Oh, I get it.
It to me, that's freaking insane.
This is these like Ayn Rand type of people that like, but you know what? They say individualists, but what they really mean is that they don't want to help other people.
Narcissist.
And so with a lot of people, maybe there's layered racism there, but surely there is, but it's about F you, I don't want to help anybody, but at the same time, like, why don't you go off into the woods and start your own country? You know what I mean? If you want to live in America, government requires taxes, and the idea of America, ideally, I think that you and I would agree that it's about, like we say, freedom and equality and stuff. And it's about, to bring that floor up to have an equality of opportunity. And if you're not willing to pitch in a little bit, well, why should you get access to roads that all of us have to pay for?
Well,
why should you get access to a fire department, police department, standing army, all these things? I mean,
but the thing I said in the podcast with Elmo before was
you figure out what you want and decide it and mean it. That's what I'm saying.
We had a big thing on Springtown, Weatherford. I think it was Weatherford. It was Weatherford Facebook page, and they were talking about that one of the ladies complained about a vagabond, which is interesting because I never hear that word in comedy.
Vagabond. That's
you heard that word?
All right, then.
You never hear that word in sentence. That was I was like, man,
I haven't heard somebody say vagabond, and I don't know. I probably read it the last time
They were complaining because in one of the local stores there was a vagabond sitting on the side asking for money. And I made a comment, and she says, I'm just tired of these people being by myself. We don't know who the hell he is. He could be a veteran. He could be, I don't know,
there are
father.
40,000 homeless veterans in this country. 40,000.
Exactly. And I asked the question, what did you go in there for? And she said, well, I went in for coffee. Okay, so a coffee from a gas station was $1.25, $2, something like that. I said, you have the money for coffee. You probably don't want to buy a sandwich, right? Go buy a goddamn sandwich. Give the man a sandwich. He may throw it away. It doesn't matter. You're helping humans. And that's the thing. In this state, a lot of times people forget the fact that that person that's begging for money or that person living on the street is still a fucking human. And it doesn't require help, but sometimes, I mean, and I said in and when Elmo asked me, he says, the problem with America is they never lost their freedom. Not this generation. They've never, and a lot of the old generation, they never had their freedom taken away. But when you lose everything, when you go off the grid and lose it all, and you're having to suck it up and beg for money, that is a whole slew of depression and shit that you have to deal with.
For sure. I have a thick pride, so
yeah.
I can identify.
And that's why I told him my podcast that I've had a life different than a lot of other people, because I've seen the poorest of the poor. And you bring food to them to help them, and they're very helpful. They're like, oh, thank you for this. I appreciate that you're feeding my family. But you realize how good you truly have it. I mean, you realize real quickly that it's not that bad of a life.
Yeah, I mean, poverty in this country is, it's a plague. It is. It's not too dissimilar from the virus, like police brutality is. And I think to tie it back into Black Lives Matter, poverty plays a gigantic role. And let me ask you this question real quick. My hope is that the Black Lives Matter movement that's so powerful right now, a people movement, it focused rightfully so on racism and police brutality, that they also focus on about economics. I was talking to Elmo about this too, because poverty is such a huge deal. If you can't feed your kid, if I couldn't feed my kid, because I was downtrodden, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to resort to crime. I'm going to find some way to find money, because I have to feed my child. You understand?
That's what's kind of weird for me, because my wife came from she never dealt with that, where I did. I was poor. I didn't have a lot of money. I grew up in a poor neighborhood. Yeah, but she didn't. And she always used to make fun of, used to say stuff like, well, I get tired of these drug dealers. I thought, oh, glad you said that. Let me tell you a story. And so what do you mean? I knew a drug dealer when I was a kid, that the only reason why he dealt drugs is because he has another daughter. And the work in Tennessee, was where I lived at the time, only paid like $10 an hour. Well, he did the right thing. He quit dealing. He quit doing everything, and he cleaned himself up. He couldn't freaking make it. So I called him up with him. I said, dude, you still dealing? He said, yeah, I'm still dealing. I was like, what happened? He said, man, I couldn't make it. My daughter's going without. You know how expensive it is a stroller is nowadays? And I'm like, well, no, I was 15. I never knew about that. And he said, I can't afford to make it. I'm tired of trying to make it. And that's why. So sometimes when you see a dealer or a druggie or any person like that, it's not always because they just want that extra Benz or the BMW or something like that. It's because they're trying to feed somebody. So, and that's where, especially in the white community, when they see blacks, and they look upon that, oh, well, he must be a dealer. No, well, maybe he's trying to feed his mother. Maybe he's trying to, I don't know, make a car payment. I mean, you have to take yourself out of your shoes, out of your well-to-do shoes, and actually think, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, it's not what it looks like. And at times it isn't. And that's I think in the racial concept, that's what people don't see.
Let's talk solutions on that front, because the underlying context of this discussion that we're having, from my opinion, it seems, is that we agree on most of the stuff. Black Lives Matter, poverty. So let me offer you what and I don't have all the answers. I don't know if I have any answers. But let me offer you that, and then hear what you have to say, because I think that that's why I supported Bernie Sanders so much, because he was like, because it's not necessarily an issue with capitalism in and of itself, although there's a ton of issues with it, but it's about the rich and powerful, the rich get richer and the poor get poor to maintain. It's nothing is ever going to change, because what's happened is the oligarchs buy the politicians, and then they sort of circle jerking, and then that keeps the rest of us down, and especially the minorities, especially the black people, and especially the black men, who are targeted and killed, more than anybody. The question, I don't really like this whole idea of like capitalism, socialism, capitalism, socialism. I wonder how much most people actually know what those two words mean, and they've sort of dissolved any semblance of, they sort of don't mean anything. But so it becomes like a measurement, like how far towards socialism or towards capitalism do you want to go? Because if you go too far in either direction, it's a mistake.
Well, the
So
problem,
I think did you agree? Like, what were some of the things with? Did you have any issues with Bernie's economic stuff aside from maybe free? Well, no, you agreed with free college. So
yeah. Well, so
forget the social stuff for a minute. I'm talking pure economic stuff now.
The issue I had with the only issue I had with Bernie, as far as economic standpoint, is that making it happen would mean a complete destruction and rebuild the entire government, which is not possible.
Well, do you? But okay, well, it is
Now,
possible.
it's
not
hold
likely.
On. Hold
okay,
on.
I will.
Said
I will
that
hold on.
because there's one factor that is the problem with this whole situation, and that's greed.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, so then you would agree that the corporate structure, the oligarchs buying the politicians, keeping this sustained, that's the the main issue here. Because here's what I think. I think that if you and I and everybody else are able to cut out the corruption, then all of the other issues, every single other issue, becomes that much easier to solve.
Exactly. It's I read an article. Oh man, I want to say it was in Maine. Guy was running a small facility. He was making, his payroll was somewhere around 300,000, and his employees didn't make an eighth of that. So what he decided to do, and I'll look it up. I got to find that damn thing. He decided to go down to a $40,000 pay and give his employees all the rest of it. So their payment went from $12. You remember what I'm talking about?
I do. That
and it worked.
My heart.
It worked, and it produced a better product. The product came out faster and cleaner and nicer. He had less people calling in. He had less sickness. And it's funny because in most divorces out there, they stay money is the problem, because the husband don't work or the wife don't work or something like that. But being able to survive for your children, being able to provide for your children, be able to do fixed things, going on vacations, buying a canoe, something like that. It's what makes life good. Being able to pick the beer you want to drink versus the one you have to afford, stuff like that. And that's been proven. So capitalism isn't so much an ancient art. It's also quite dead, and it needs to die in its own right. But I don't think the socialism.
So are you a socialist?
No. And I'm partial. And I'll say why I'm partial. Because although I have a firm belief that even if we had socialism, there'd be some asshole that want to get in power, and it would destroy the whole thing. The common concept behind socialism isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing if it's ran correctly. Everyone gets everything, everyone gets to live, but there's some aspects that go, hold on a minute, wait a minute. Because in America, the way we're set up is the more effort you put into it, and I always say, well, the more effort you put into it, the better you are. That's not entirely true. Statistically speaking, if you're born in a poor household, you're going to be poor. Statistically, you have a harder time getting into like Yale or Caltech or one of those badass colleges. And you have to work harder versus being born into a Rothschild or Kennedy.
Plays a role in that as well. I don't
exactly.
Deny that.
And I think that a correctly performed socialistic society would actually work, but you could not delete
it has worked. There's proof of it working, even in this country. I didn't. This isn't a formal debate, so I didn't prepare all the data.
I'm just kind of off the whim here.
Yeah, me too. But there's proof of a socialistic kind of small cultures in this country working, and then throughout history across.
It does work, but
for sure, and it does.
The bad thing about it is that the way America's set up is, like I said, unless you're born in the rich, you're not going to make it as easily as someone who was.
That's exactly why socialism, and I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm not a socialist myself. I'm a social democrat, but what we're doing isn't working. Capitalism has failed most people in this country, from the inner cities to Appalachia. White, black, brown, doesn't matter what how you walk, who you are, what color your skin is, what your religion is. If you're poor or middle class, you're getting screwed in this. You know what I mean? You're getting screwed by capitalism. So um, I wonder, why not then try something different? But what but the the powerful that keep the system running they're so lustful for the
Exactly. And
power.
that's one of my,
Yeah,
so I'm not a religious man. I study a lot of religion.
nor am I.
A weird one. I have two children that are Christian and two of them that are borderline atheists, and I myself am an atheist. And
Yes.
it's more of a choice than it is anything. Because 40 years of life, you learn a lot about people and who they really are and what they really do. But the thing
Right.
I see a problem with is that no matter how far we get in life, people are still greedy. And
Well,
I was ready.
I'm sorry. I'm getting a charger because my phone's at 5%. I didn't
I'll
hear
try.
that last bit. I'm sorry.
People are still greedy. And that's one of the problems with society now. That people are still heavily greedy on, like I said, individualism, my house, my rules, my thing, my car, my everything.
Yeah.
If they actually work together, then you really wouldn't need either one of socialism or capitalism. You could actually work together and make this function, but you can't because of the fact that everyone has their own ideologies they believe in, different religions. Like here in Texas, you cannot be anything but Christian. You must be Christian. And if
Right.
you're not, you can actually not get a job being Christian. You can actually be turned down for a job for not being a certain religion.
Oh, not officially though.
Not
They'll
officially.
make sure to put things on the notes that make sure that they have
Oh, yeah.
plausible deniability.
Oh, you went to jail. We can't have that. They'll put that on there. But the reality of the question was, I tell people all the time, I was actually asked the question in an interview, what church do you go to? And are you an active member? I was thrown back. I was like, I didn't know what to say. And he's like, that's kind of an unusual question. Oh, I know. We just want to know. So I had to make something up because I need the job. The reality behind all this is that if that's not going to go away, I'm just a human being. If you come to my house right now, I'll give you a plate of food. I'll give you a shirt. If you need to take my truck, hey, take my truck, go down to the store, get you some food. I don't mind one bit. My buddy borrowed my truck. My neighbors borrowed my truck. I let my tools out. I'm cool with it. As long as you don't mess me, I don't mess you. And that's just how I work. But you can't teach that. And my children the same way. They teach that everyone's equal. But in America, it's not like that. And it works. Socialism in its core, I see it in more small communities than I do in government. And it's kind of nice. You're like, oh, this is pretty nice. It's nice to set up. But you're right. Capitalism still does not work. And what's the problem with trying something new? It's why I wanted Bernie to actually run. I wanted to see what he could do. I was really curious, like, man, this guy's got some really screwed up ideas. And I'm starting to say screwed up to this very drastic ideas. Let's put it that way. Bernie.
Who?
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to burn it down. I think he wanted to shove the poison out and kind of inject some scaffolding into it.
Exactly. If you listen to what he says, he wasn't really like, oh, down with this, down with that. He was like, dude, we have a problem. We need to fix it. And I was like, dude, this is the guy. Right. This is the man. This is the thing. This is the guy we need.
Yeah.
And me being a blue collar worker, I was like, dude, I need someone to speak for me. I need someone to go in that higher office and say, hey, look, we got these guys suffering. We need to make pay. We need to make something work. And I hate to say it, neither Democrats or Republicans have ever done that. They do occasionally, but most time that I've noticed is that every time they try to fix something, there's always something they get out of it. And there's always something that is changed or they can get something out of it. And that's our problem.
Yeah.
And Bernie, if you listen to the way he talked, it wasn't benefit for him. It was benefit for us.
I'm tired of the millionaires and the billionaires.
And he pissed off a whole shitload of people. And down here
a lot of powerful people. That's why he didn't gain the he. But you know what? It's not a complete failure what he did, because he showed the people that the power structure can be intimidated by good ideas that will help the people, and to break this kind of duopoly between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and the oligarchs and the politicians and the pundits, and I think in that way it was a huge success. Now, obviously, it didn't pan out.
Because the Democratic and Republican parties have been really so far as we've seen, their ideologies or how they look at each other is really far away or very so separate, and how much dialogue do you think is necessary, or is dialogue, continuous talking to each other, necessary in order for America to settle for a good balance in social policies? What do you think?
Do you want to take this first?
Damn. how much it's almost impossible, because come to Texas, you'll see it. You'll see different views, but you also see a lot of people that do not want to bend, and that's part of the problem with society. There's some views that I have that you may not agree with, but you present your idea like, well, this is what I got. Like, it's not a bad idea, but you're not hurting anybody, so I'm not really mad about it, But if we work together and join together, we could do it. But there's so much talking that has to be done, but there's also a lot of doing that has to be done, because these people come on there and say, oh, well, this is the problem, that's the problem, but they do a damn thing to make the problem better. So in that concept, it's not so much talking, it's more or less the actions need to happen. Things need to be fixed, and they need to be fixed immediately before they get worse than they already are. Because the longer we let this burn, the more it's going to burn down, and it's going to be harder and harder to rebuild it, because we're already losing faith. You can walk, I'm a white guy, I'm a bald-headed white guy. I'll walk into a Walmart and black people look at me weird, and they have all the right to be. And you think about that. I'm not a racist person, but the fact that that still exists, that has to be ended. And it can't be, because everyone else that is like that is making my life hard. That little situation right there, until we get together as people and actually talk this out and go, okay, this is what needs to happen. This is what we're going to do. This is what's going to exist. And you're going to stop. Until that happens, talk is not going to do anything. That's my opinion.
Okay, yeah. So I don't disagree with you, but I a little bit, because action is absolutely important, in my opinion. I'll wrap this up, Elmo. I know we've been on for a while here, and you got some editing to do. Yeah. So action is deeply important, but I do think that communication is also deeply important, because I don't think that you get to action without doing something even just as benign as you and I talking here on Elmo's podcast. I think that the more that people, generally speaking, come together and are willing to communicate, the more likely that action, coordinated action, is going to be possible. And we need to really all dig deep and work together to lift this, to put out these fires, like you say, not the fires that about the rising fires that the oligarchs and the politicians and the pundits put on us. And I think that it takes a lot of effort and humility to come together, to talk, and a little bit of talking. It's been a pleasure, man, by the way. And I think that that's a little bit of that. That's a little bit of work to try to, not let their ego get them too mixed up, and then reach out. I think that's what leads us to that action. And that would be my 2 cents.
Agreed. I agree.
Right on.
So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr. And thank you for listening in. And please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like Grandma's meatballs, or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.